Okay.
The first Austrian workshop I did, I was actually invited by the Black community of Vienna, which was in 2013, I think. Yeah. And they were like, I knew some of them from the Bundestreffen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I knew them
The German,
from,
you mean ESD Bundestreffen?
exactly.
Yes, okay.
And years before that, I met some of them at that meeting.
Yeah.
So just, we kind of stayed in contact via Facebook and such. And then when they heard that I was back in Europe and certified in Kemetic yoga, they were like, wow. And that's how I ended up having my first big workshop in Vienna, in that circle of only people of African descent. The workshop now, it was from the same group of people, but this is now open for everyone.
Okay.
And they just helped with the room and with some links and such, but it's really me and Isa who organized it.
Okay. And I also wanted to ask you a little bit more about just we talked about empowerment, and what have you seen from visually or felt from the women that take your classes, that are interested, that they feel drawn to Kemetic yoga and want to learn more about it. And okay, so back to empowerment.
Yes.
What has been not only your personal experience, but what developments or empowering developments have you noticed amongst the Black and women of color that attend your class?
Yes, I mean, the thing is, I haven't been offering regular classes, only recently online. Before that, I mainly focused on workshops because I couldn't really imagine Kemetic yoga as being part of a fitness studio schedule.
Yeah.
And to rent a room and offer weekly or regular classes is financially very challenging. So that's why I just stuck to workshops like once, twice, maybe 3 times a year, and online classes.
Okay.
And what I've experienced with, let me say, women of color who have joined my class, a certain kind of release and heart opening, because what happens a lot of times is that especially as women of color, I mean Black women in particular, but women of color, when we live in an environment like Germany, in an environment where the majority doesn't look like us, people always have certain kinds of assumptions, who we are, what we are, and we either try to live up to those assumptions, or we try to resist and go in the exact opposite. But either way, it is hard for us to just be. We always have to think of how to be, if we want to be like this or that. So that ultimately blocks our heart, arushat, our heart chakra. So what happens when we share the space and do Kemetic yoga, African yoga, hoodoo, which is also a discipline that I added to my practice, it opens the heart. Like I've experienced, women, tears being shed in the classes, hearts opening, and I mean, of course, on the most physical level, more flexibility in certain things, like accessing certain movements that they have never been able to do. But I mean, that's a general yoga practice effect. But I think the most significant thing is the opening of the heart, because the heart channel is the I always say the heart chakra, the heart arushat as we call it in Medjugorje, is the channel to the divine. So once this is open, we can more clearly receive the messages and listen to our intuition
Mm-hmm.
and get closer to ourselves and our true selves, and letting go of all these layers of what we should be or shouldn't be. And because a lot of times we don't even know who we really are,
Mm-hmm.
because we start on the journey of life, having to create a personality, and then
Mm-hmm.
at some point it's time for us to let it go. But for a lot of us, it's hard to make that switch to let it go. And
Mm-hmm.
especially for us, where we're being so defined all the time. So yoga helps us a little bit to have these moments, even if it's just 5 minutes or this 1 hour in the day
Mm-hmm.
where you do yoga, to let go of all these layers and to just be yourself. Because
Mm-hmm.
we need our layers sometimes when we go out in the world, to protect ourselves spiritually from all the things that we are bombarded with. But the key is to keep the heart open,
Mm-hmm.
because the heart, it cannot be damaged. It's in a constant flow of receiving and giving love. So
Mm-hmm.
even if somebody is trying to spiritually or emotionally attack you, once your heart is strong and rooted within yourself and beating for yourself first and foremost, um, it cannot be harmed. It can only be harmed if it's partially closed and somebody tries to crack it open.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great challenge for Black women, for women of color, to keep an open heart. I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we always feel like we're, when we go outside, there's war, and we have,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, but there's so much magic in letting go of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga definitely has helped with that a lot.
Yes, I agree. I agree.